Hi everyone, Chris here with a recent vinyl finds video, all New Zealand material, and I'll run through some of my record store day finds and some other recent releases as well. So we'll start off with record store day because obviously it's of a lot of interest to people, and there were a bunch of New Zealand exclusive releases this year, mainly reissues, including this. The Bats by Night. I might have talked earlier about how Flying Nun have teamed up with American label Captured Tracks for an extensive reissue catalogue and a reissue program of Flying Nun material, which is long overdue and long awaited. This is the 1984 EP by the Bats, their first, which came out as a record store day exclusive, just 600 copies worldwide. And as did this Snapper, the Snapper EP. This is actually an original, not a reissue, but my copy's signed by Peter Gutteridge. I think I've told that story in past videos, but classic 1988 EP, which the Snapper, I think, were highly influential. They had a real kind of drone and kind of a German motoric kind of sound, and lots of organ, guitar, droning sounds, and influenced lots of people. It's an absolute classic. If you do manage to find one of the 600 copies of this floating around the world, I highly recommend you pick it up. Another reissue that came out on Record Store Day through the Real Groovy store in Auckland was this, Waves, a reissue of their 1975 album. It's never seen a CD release until now. The record came with 2 CDs, this album and a second album which was never released back in the 70s. I think they were a 9-piece, but quite a big band, and it's acoustic, folk rock. Pretty accomplished playing on here, and it's not something that I'd heard before, and yeah, nice to have that out and see people going back and re-looking at New Zealand's musical history. This was another, well, this one isn't because this is an older copy, but Skank Attack, 1980s Wellington alternative guitar band, and it wasn't a reissue or a re-release. There's a nice story. The band found 100 copies of the original pressing in the back of a garage many years later after 1987, and so they put those out around the country into stores for Record Store Day. So 100 copies of this out and about as well. A couple of things that weren't particularly Record Store Day releases but came out about and around Record Store Day and certainly added to the hype. First of all, Beast Wars, the second album from them, absolutely fantastic. Even if you're not a metal fan, I'd recommend this. It's just kind of heavy riff-tastic. And some real pile driver songs in here, some that are a little more nuanced maybe than on the first album, but what a great album. It's produced fantastically, it sounds awesome. Really going for all the metal imagery on the gatefold sleeve, and they put up pre-orders of this. 100 copies were available for pre-order on this split yellow and red vinyl. They sold out in a day, which is phenomenally quick for New Zealand. Then on records, it came out on the Friday the 19th, but on the 20th on Record Store Day on WaihekeRecords in Auckland, they had 100 blood red vinyl copies of it. They all sold in a day, and now the album is out. You can get the black vinyl version, but as I said, absolutely fantastic lyric sheet there. Highly recommend that, even if you're not the biggest metaler on earth. It's just great heavy music, and done with a real kind of passion. It's not that kind of fiddly guitar stuff, it's just heavy riffs. And this is kind of a nice companion piece to it. This also had an official release of the 19th, but really got bound up in the hype of Record Store Day. And even though it came out 20 years ago, a great companion piece to Beast Wars is She Had Churn, their first album. And She Had started off as kind of a Metallica aping covers band really when they were in high school, but on this first album it really showed how they'd evolved and taken on board post-punk and a lot of New Zealand bands like the Skeptics, so with that heaviness but a different kind of darkness than a metal darkness. This was produced by Jazz Coleman of Killing Joke, and apparently it was pretty fraught sessions with a lot of angst between Coleman and the band, but it's it's a masterpiece. It's long been my favourite She Had album, and this is the first time it's out on vinyl 20 years later, and just 300 copies of this produced worldwide. And if you find one, grab it, because they were being snapped up pretty quickly. Awesome, awesome record. Now for what we're listening to now. This is from Sam Hamilton. It's called Integrafolia. I don't know whether to describe it as psych electro-pop or electro-psych pop, but this is the second album. The first, Parlour, I don't know, it was alright, it didn't grab me. I think this is much better. It's in a similar kind of vein, but maybe the songs are more formed on this than on the first. I'd recommend this. Check it out. One of the easiest ways to find it is through his Bandcamp page, and he is touring New Zealand shortly. He's been in the States. I can't remember whether I showed this or not, but I'll show it anyway. Nathan Haynes, Vermilion Skies. Nathan Haynes spent many years making kind of jazz, soul, kind of dance, fusion records. And last year he put out a great album, The Poet's Embrace, which was all analog, a real kind of hark back to kind of 60s era jazz. And this is along the same veins, very, very similar. It's kind of a companion piece, really. The only difference are there are a couple of tracks with vocals on this. I have to say those are the ones that I tend to want to skip over more, but some really, really nice. I mean, I'm not a huge jazz fan. I don't know a lot about it, but I do like this album. Die Die Die's album Harmony came out, I think it was first released 2011. The vinyl eventually came out in November 2012 on blue vinyl. It's just had a re-release on an Irish label, Small Town America. Different cover. It's got a nice kind of die cut cover there, and this one is on white vinyl. So if you don't already own this album, which I think is one of Die Die Die's best, I think the band just keep getting better and better as their music kind of develops more depth. They've still got songs that have got that kind of, you know, angular speed and energy of kind of, you know, alternative kind of indie punk band, but they're not really a punk band, but they've got that kind of punk energy and angular guitars. But if you don't already own this album, here's a great excuse to go out and get it. Die Die Die. Bob Cadillac, he used to be in bands like the Black Panthers, which kind of scuzzy, garagey rock. He's now gone to Australia, to Melbourne, and this has still got kind of, you know, garage alternative guitar sounds, but it's also got I think the influences of kind of heavy Aussie rock in there as well. And so he's self-released this album, 200 copies of it available. It's called Pretty Whack. It's got an insert sheet there, and he's done this on blue vinyl. That's worth checking out. And I've got a few 7-inches to show you as well, so I'll just grab those. And just while I'm getting those, I should tell you I've just done another radio show for Record Store Day. You can get that through my Facebook page, facebook.com/countingthebeat, or go to the Waiheke Radio website, just Google Waiheke Radio, you'll find that. And lots of these records feature on that show. So a few singles. Princess Chelsea, she's got a new single coming out really soon. There's a bunch of great New Zealand releases coming up. But anyway, Princess Chelsea's got a cover of label mates Voom coming out really soon, and that could have prompted me to get this. I don't know, I didn't get this earlier. It's songs from her album Little Golden Book, but also with an additional track, Goodnight Little Robot Child, and I thought it would be sold out, but it's still available on blue vinyl. What else have we got in here? This is a 4-track 33 RPM 7-inch EP put out on WaihekeRecords, KRAAK, and it features 2 Australian bands and 2 New Zealand bands. It's called Realistic Pillow. So the Australian bands are Mad Nana and Slug Guts, and from New Zealand Pumice with the song Glordinary, and Kraus with Dog on the Loose. So great little collection, and it seems to be available quite cheap. I've seen it in New Zealand for $8–10, which is pretty good for a 7-inch on these shores. And a nice introduction to some music from the bottom of the world. Alright, I've been waiting for this for ages. Sports, with their single Rats and Red Stars. I think it was meant to be out the middle of last year, but they had problems with pressings, they had problems with getting the covers done. Eventually it's out. This is on WaihekeRecords, and yeah, just a 2-song. It's kind of angular, post-punk, great, lots of energy. I'd love to hear something longer from these guys because I'm really impressed with this single. Okay, this is Bill Tufferty. It's a companion piece to this book, which is again is a companion piece to a film. It's a short film called Form Next to Form Next to Form. And this book has got stills from that film done in RGB and info about the film. And coming with the book is the single, which is out on 112 Records, who also put out Gay Time, Raw Nerves. They've got some great releases coming up from Las Tetas and the Drab Do Riffs, plus another band I think it's called Satan's Little Helper. And this was produced by Carl Steven of the Drab Do Riffs and Heart Attack Alley, formerly Super Groove. It's instrumental. Ben Tufferty used to play in a lot of the Māori show bands back in the 50s and 60s. He's recently passed away. This is a great instrumental track, and yeah, worth tracking down. I think 112 might have some copies which you can buy without the book. They got that at a good price. And finally, this was another Record Store Day release, and I think it's testimony to those shops who really, Record Store Day is all about celebrating the role of stores in supporting and expanding the range of music which is available. So we don't just have the top 40 dreck which you can get at the supermarket, and you get these shops that give something back, like Real Groovy releasing records for Record Store Day, and this one as well. Rough Peel Music is the Rough Peel Music is the shop in Wellington. Their record label offshoot is Rough Peel Records. They put out the Beast Wars LP. They've got more LPs coming, they tell me, and they put out this for Record Store Day. It's a split 7-inch single. To me, this is what Record Store Day is about. Something special, shop giving it back, celebrating music, celebrating what stores are about. It's Beast Wars on one side, the Eastern on the other, covering a track of each other's. I can't pronounce the Beast Wars song, the Eastern cover. It's spelled C-T-H-U-L-H-U. Beast Wars, State Houses by the River. And they first covered that at the Silver Scroll Awards, which is a music awards show for the best songs. And this has been put out 2 different colour of vinyl. So, where are we? This one is the green vinyl, and it's also coming out on yellow vinyl. The yellow vinyl's only just arrived, so I haven't got a copy of that. They had problems with the pressing. 300 of each. This is 167 of 300, and yeah, it's a great record. It sounds fantastic. The versions of the songs are brilliant, and the bands and the label and store deserve your support for doing this, so I recommend that. Okay, just recording a little excerpt which I'm going to slip in here because I forgot a record when I was recording the video and that I really want to show, which is this, the Wilberforce's Paradise Beach, which is out on WaihekeRecords. So WaihekeRecords released some great music, but they haven't put a lot out on vinyl because it's such an expensive thing to do. I think it's such a financial risk, but they've decided that the Wilberforces deserve giving it a go, and I agree. I think this is a really great record, and I don't love this cover with the shark and the cutouts. Brilliant stuff. It's a 6-track and 45 RPM. It's a nice little EP or mini LP, and just really good indie guitar, alternative guitar pop, indie pop. Alright, that's a quick run through what I've picked up. Thanks for watching. As ever, thanks for your comments and your feedback. And as I say, check out the radio shows and other videos, a couple of places, countingthebeat.gen, that's gen.nz, or facebook.com/countingthebeat. Thanks for watching, everyone.